Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Shropshire Council's Cabinet meeting of Wednesday, the 9th of November. I'm obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and can I ask members when speaking to identify your name and role so that it is clear to those watching the meeting as to who is speaking. So moving on to the agenda. Item number 1, apologies for absence. Michelle, do we have apologies?
We've received apologies from Councillors Dean Carroll and Cecilia Motley.
Thank you, Lee. Someone reason my microphone's not working. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, Councillor Dean Carroll's at a funeral, unfortunately, this morning, and Cecilia Motley is attending another meeting on behalf of Shropshire Council. Moving on to disclosable interest. Any cabinet members have disclosable interest this morning? Thank you. So, minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of October 2022. I'm happy to propose those. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Ian Nellens, I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Nellens. No hands in the room. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to public question time. We have one public question this morning, which is from Sustainable Transport Shropshire and will be read by Tim Collard. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. We established questions from Peter Gilbert on behalf of Sustainable Transport Shropshire. His question is this. In September 2021, Shropshire Council voted in favour of motion number 7, which amongst its resolutions included the following. Proactively reduce the number of short car journeys taken, particularly in our towns at first. Act to discourage cars from our town centres, develop low traffic zones, create safe, active travel routes and improve urban public transport. A significant driver of unsustainable travel is new residential and business development, particularly where it takes place on the outskirts of towns and or where their design inherently encourages car use rather than walking, cycling or public transport. Transport for New Homes has published a very useful guidance tool for assessing the sustainability of new developments from a travel perspective. On the 12th of May 2022, Council approved motion number 1. Some of its resolutions were to be acted upon after adoption of the local plan, but others were for immediate action. Please would Cabinet advise the progress on achievement of the latter, namely resolutions 4, 5 and 6 of the motion, to include number of developments affected to date.
Thank you, Tim. To answer the question, Councillor Ian Nellens.
Thank you for the question. Councillor Ian Nellens, portfolio holder for climate change, environment and transport. Relevant Shropshire Council officers were invited to attend a training session on LT 120 in July 2021. All planning applications are assessed in accordance with national guidance to include paragraph 113 and 124 of the National Planning Policy Framework, embracing the principles contained within the Transport for New Homes guidance. Shropshire Council will continue to promote the principles of national guidance to include transport for new homes, seek to promote active travel where possible. On the question about will we recognise those developers who have gone above and beyond the minimum government requirements, this will continue to be monitored, and developers and developments that exceed minimum requirements will be promoted and recognised as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nellens. Moving on to member question time, we have one member's question from Councillor Cardiff. Do you want to come and sit down at the front and use the microphone?
You want me to ask the question?
Yes, please.
Read it to the Thank you, Chair. Having read the very promising and positive Together for Children annual report, I have the following question. Why isn't there a breakdown of children's ages or mention of children with disabilities? It is important to know percentages of age and disability groups accepted for adoption. I presume that it is more difficult for older children and children with disabilities to be adopted. Is that the case? We need to know the future of these children, if not adopted, and what we do to encourage and support those that adopt such children in these categories. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pardee. The answer will be provided by Councillor Kirsty Hurst-Knight.
Thank you, Councillor Pardee, for your question. The Together for Children annual report is compiled by the service manager, not ourselves. It contains information across 4 local authorities, and all of the information in it is publicly available. As the number of adoptions in local authorities can be small, and the number of children with disabilities even smaller, the publishing of this data by local authority would mean that the children would potentially be identifiable. The T4C governing body receives more detailed data by age, ethnicity, disability and other factors, and the assistant directors of Telford and Shropshire make the adoption decisions directly, so they are aware of the needs and characteristics of each individual child and how they may be met. The data in terms of equality is monitored by the team manager and the service manager. I can confirm that children with additional needs and complex disabilities have been adopted in Shropshire in the year 21 to 22. In relation to support for adopters who adopt children with disabilities and older children, we tailor support to suit the individual child's needs. Support can be financial and or accessible to other services, particularly for children with disabilities and complex needs. Post-adoption support is available, which can include therapeutic support and therapeutic life story support to enable older children to understand their life journey and why they were adopted. A lot of support is provided for older children before the transition to adopters in order to introduce children to the idea of adoption and to enable children to feel safe with their adopters. This also provides reassurance that social workers and foster carers agree that these are safe people for them to live with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Councillor Pardee, you've got a supplementary?
No, but I'd just like to thank the portfolio holder for the answer, and also thank the adoption team for the work they do. And it's a difficult job, I'm sure, so I thank them very much for that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Councillor Pardee. Okay, so moving on to item number 6, which is scrutiny items, and we have no scrutiny items today. So moving straight on to item number 7, which is the annual health and safety report 2021-22. Lead member, Councillor Gwen Butler.
Councillor Gwen Butler here, portfolio holder for finance and corporate resources. Leader, I would like to start by thanking Carol Fox and her minute team for the work they have done in keeping the council and its staff safe in this ever-changing environment we find ourselves. Health and safety is often seen as a blocker to progress, but it needs to be seen as the foundation for delivering a successful, competent organisation with less risk and a better place for our staff and residents we are dealing with to receive the outcomes they require. The report itself is very thorough and gives us confidence moving forward that we are engaging and working with our staff, our most valuable asset, and understanding and delivering to the needs they require in working in different ways, both from home, office, hot testing or mobile. Leader, I move the recommendations for the report be noted, taking into account the future work plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Butler, do I have a second report?
Yeah, Councillor Rob Gittins, portfolio holder for culture and digital. Happy to second.
Thank you for the business. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Leader. One comment and 2 questions if I can. I note on page 2 of the report where it says collaborative working with new ways of working, and the comment there, ensure we have office space available for employees to access. I presume that's in operation because of the way we're working. And then if I go to appendix 3, and it was picked up in the media, and that's the lighting column, which unfortunately collapsed and injured the child. I noticed that the adjacent ones were looked at. Are there any others that need to be inspected? Has that been put in operation? I presume it was an extraordinary incident. However, if there are similar ones in Shropshire, may be erected at the same time. Maybe they need to be looked at. And then also in Appendix 5, there's the work-related absences, and at section 5 in that, it says that the stress-related absences have fallen. But if one looks at the numbers, they've actually increased. And I think it's fallen in relation to the total absences from Shropshire Council rather than the stress-related. So, and it's, if I read it right, it's gone from 319 to 412. It's one I've referred to before about stress for employees, and maybe working from home may not help in some occasions with certain, not your correct word to use, right? The ages. If you're a young person working from home and you've got family around you, I'll be keeping an eye on that. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Roger. Councillor Julia Buckley.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I think it's really useful reading, and I really appreciate the fact that this is a regular inspection. I have two comments really, and they're just two different examples of the impact of budget pressure. So the first one is around the school construction projects. There's a whole section there in Appendix 8 about how there's a need to keep on top of site security and awareness of this. I've been working for over 12 months with the TMBSS PRU in Bridgenorth in my area, seeking funding for a gate. It's probably the only school in Shropshire that has no site security. So the children there, you know, they can abscond that site, and there are lots of high risk issues, and I have requested it. Everybody agrees it's absolutely essential, but we're told that there's not enough budget. We were told we should try again next year and they would see if they could fund it then. So there's the theory over here about what needs to be done and how it's checked and things are identified, and then we have the harsh reality that when the budget cuts follow through, there isn't actually any money left in the pot. That should be a top priority, and I hope that you will have a look at it, please, and you will ensure that these things are prioritised even in a time of budget cuts. That brings me on to my second point, which is around the staffing. I was approached yesterday by somebody who wished to remain anonymous, who told me that in North Shropshire, the health visitor team has gone down from 12 staff to 3. And there are no plans to recruit the additional staff, and the pressure and the stress that that team are under is now becoming dangerous. So it's dangerous in terms of health levels for the staff concerned, if we're going to talk about well-being and stress, but surely it also starts to become dangerous for the people they're trying to help, that there is no way that they can cover that geography and support people. So while I applaud the concept and the principles and the theories that I think we all agree on about where the priorities are around staff well-being and around security on school sites, the experience on the ground is that the budget cuts has actually prevented those things from taking place. I'd like really some reassurance that both of those things will be looked at and that these kinds of safety issues will be prioritised despite the pressure on budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Okay. Councillor Hurst-Knight.
Didn't know anything about either of those issues, Councillor Buckley, so thank you for bringing them up to us in cabinet meeting and not before actually. But anyway, one thing I would like to say about the report and through Education and Children's Services is there's a real sense of eyes on this hybrid working, and that we are looking after each other. I know admissions and lots of the teams do come together and make time during that working day to actually sit down and discuss with each other, are you okay? And it's that absolute, you know, balance of making sure that we're looking after the officers and they're looking after each other. And I think.
Okay, and I understand people online are struggling to hear some of this, so if you can keep your mics close to you, please. Councillor Gordon Butler.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you, Roger and Julia, for your questions and interest. Roger, the street lamps, yeah, totally get it. I'm confident, I've discussed it with officers, that the appropriate measures have been taken on board by the highways team to actually look at the vulnerable stock, which are basically the similar lights to what we've actually got in place where the accident occurred, not just in that facility, but the particular model of the street lamp, which had internal corrosion, which actually caused it. We wouldn't have known it was going to happen because you wouldn't have seen why it happened. In relation to the actual figures, the one thing I will say, we're not actually looking in this report against like for like, because the previous year's figures, we were in lockdown. So it's very difficult to actually analyse. If anything, Carol said to me, we really need to compare to 2019 rather than last year's, if that makes sense. I totally get it about the stress levels. We've got, there is a fine balance because an awful, I would say the majority of people who are working from home they like to do it, but we cannot ignore the people who can't work from home, and we have to make sure the working environment is correct for all our staff, irrespective of their circumstances. Please be comfortable that we're actually doing that. Julia, first I've heard of the two things that you raised with me. I would have thought the school gate would be risk assessed and would be highlighted on the individual school's budget down to its need against other budgetary pressures. I totally get the budgetary issues that you're talking about, very hard times, and I look forward to your alternative budget to help fund these things moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Richard Marshall just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, Councillor Richard Marshall, portfolio holder for Highways and Regulatory Services. Just to confirm what Councillor Butler said, the lampposts that were known to be of the batch that was faulty have all been checked. Some of those have been replaced, and we do continue to monitor all others of that batch.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Marshall. That's what I was going to point out. I know that Councillor Carroll had been here. I know he was involved in ensuring that those columns were looked at immediately. So, okay, I've got no other hands in the room. I have a proposer and a seconder. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So moving on to item number 8, which is the Fostering Service Annual Report 2021 to March 2022. Councillor Kirsty Hurst-Knight.
Pleased to bring this report to Cabinet for noting today. The annual Fostering Service Report, April to March 22. The report you've received provides an overview of the activity, date and performance of Shropshire Council's fostering services, known as the Children's Placement Services. The report shows that there has been an increase in the work for fostering service, especially from a connected carer perspective. At the end of the financial year, the overview of the report shows there have been 70 mainstream fostering households and 112 connected carer households. I think we should be encouraged by the growth of connected care arrangements with 230 requests during this period, which shows an increase of 15% from 200 requests the year before, although we only see 7 foster family recruited and 5 resignations from mainstream households. We see a small net gain in placement capacity, something which we are aware of and working through. It's important to recognise the key strengths of our fostering service. We continue to be a robust and experienced workforce. We truly offer a wraparound support offered to our foster carers. And we have a developed training offer to mainstream and connected person foster carers. This all adds to placement stability for children and prevents unplanned moves for children and young people, which is vital. So I'm happy to put forward the recommendation that's outlined in 3.1 of this report, and ask Cabinet to consider the information within the report and continue to support the work of Shropshire's fostering services. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Do I have a second of that report? Yes, I do. It's me, actually. How silly of me. I'm delighted to support this report, actually, and I think we should all be extremely proud and grateful of the work that our team is doing in terms of our fostering situation. There is absolutely no doubt that we can do more, and we certainly want to do more. It is a far better outcome for young people to be in a family situation. But I'm absolutely delighted to second this report. Oh, Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. It is a good report, and I join you. I think every councillor would say thank you to the staff and also to all those who are doing what we need them to do for the children. And I note on page 40, there's 182 fostering households at the end of March 22. Is that increasing or decreasing? Because I see in later reports about the number of children we are needing to look after are increasing. So I congratulate everybody involved with this and say thank you to all those residents, parents, fostering, who are doing the work that we need to be done. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councillor Gittins.
Yes, thank you very much. Councillor Hurst-Knight, I was just wondering, as there is an ageing population of foster carers here in Shropshire, and we've only been able to recruit to 7 new positions in the last year. What's the plan to address this? Thank you.
Picking up on what Councillor Evans said, actually.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Councillor Kirsten.
I think it's appropriate this moment to bring in Sonia Meadows on the call, heads of Children's Services. There's a lot of work around recruitment.
You're very welcome, Sonia. Sonia is joining us online. Sonia, do you want to take Cabinet through what's been going on at the moment regarding fostering?
Good morning and thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to do that. We are very conscious that we've got a very ageing population in terms of our mainstream foster carers, and in some instances, obviously, related to our connected carers as well, because many of them are grandparents. We have a recruitment strategy that is in place. We've struggled to recruit a marketing manager since our previous marketing lead moved to Together for Children. So we are very fortunate to be in the position whereby we've now got seconded from a different part of the council, a marketing lead for the fostering recruitment campaign, and we will be relaunching that in the new year. In addition to that, we have a paper where we've benchmarked our fees and allowances in relation to other local authorities, in particular Telford, and that paper is due to go to the Director of People in this week, completed, to look at an increase in our fostering allowances, which will obviously bring us into line with our most near neighbour. In Shropshire, we benefit from a lot of connected carers wanting to look after their extended family. And obviously for us, it is the best outcome for children, without a doubt, but also it is the most cost-effective way of us supporting families to look after children as well. But the benchmarking of those fees and allowances will help us with our next year to raise the number of carers, so that we do recruit more mainstream foster carers for the wider children group, not just those that can live with their extended family. But also we've got a significant target next year to step children down out of residential into specialist foster placements as well. So with the renewed fees and the renewed marketing strategy, we are very positive and hopeful that we will meet those outcomes and be able to progress with those children living in mainstream foster families.
Thank you, Sonia. Very grateful for that update. Councillor Kirsten, did you have anything else you wanted to come back on?
No, just to thank the team.
Yeah, no, as always, Sonia, please pass on our thanks to the team.
I will do, thank you.
Councillor Hurst-Knight's proposing that. I'm seconding that. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to, it is the Kirsty Hurst-Knight show today. Moving on to item number 9, Together for Children Annual Report 2021-2022.
Thank you, Leader. The report circulated the adoption Together for Children annual report April 21 to March 22 has been circulated to Cabinet. Again, it provides an overview of the activity, data and performance of the Shropshire Adoption Service. This report is for information only and no decision is to be made, but it's so important to bring this along as the other reports today at Cabinet to see the work and highlight what's been done within adoption in Shropshire. T4C went live at the end of September 2020 and is a partnership between Shropshire Council, Staffordshire County Council, Stoke-on-Trent City Council and Telford and Wrekin Council. We are all legally required to work within a regional adoption agency. The vision of the newly formed partnership is to ensure a child receives, whilst growing up, opportunity to live in a loving and secure family home. As with so many other services, we continue to see the impact of COVID, and there has been some delays in the placement of children, which you can see in the report. But most of the working day now is hybrid, and we're pleased to say that face-to-face events for adopters and children have recommenced, and it's been really nice to actually go to some of these events and meet with the families. This year, along with other regional adoption agencies, 3 priority areas have been outlined and currently are being prioritised: adoption recruitment, the child's journey and adoption support. The service provided 28 adopted households, and it is a slight decrease from previous year, which was 33. But we see an increase in the number of children matched with families within the region. The aim will always be child focused and to get the right placement, a smooth transition and continue to support, and will allow healthy attachment and ultimately positive outcomes for our children of Shropshire and their adopters. Again, a reminder that Shropshire Council had an Ofsted inspection in February, and the team had the opportunity to showcase the good work that is done within Shropshire Children's Services this year, and we've maintained our judgment as good. So I'm pleased to highlight the effort of the team as always and the partnership working, and request that Cabinet, as in recommendation 3.1, consider the information in the report, and we continue to support the work of Together for Children, the regional adoption agency, and fulfilling the Council's statutory and regulatory requirements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Do I have a second of that report?
Councillor Richard Marshall, I'm more than happy to support this vital function that the council provides that assists the betterment of future for children in and around the county.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. I don't have any hands up in the room. I have a proposer, I have a seconder. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to item number 10, which is the Corporate Parenting Annual Report. Councillor Kirsty Hurst-Knight.
Thank you. Okay, Corporate Parenting Annual Report, April 2021 to March 2022. The annual report provides a summary of the business of the Corporate Parent Steering Board and an overview of the themes presented, and shows our overarching plan. During 21 and 22, the Corporate Parenting Board, which I have the honour of chairing, met several times, and our work is involved in supporting children and safeguarding service and the wider council. And I think it shows with the, I keep saying the good Ofsted, but the inspection of the local authority. It was found that we offer a good service where I looked after children and our care leavers. Ofsted praised the dedication and commitment of the staff and the council for investment in our children and young people looked after. We will always look to do better. We will always strive to be outstanding, and the report from Ofsted Outcomes shows that we listen to our children. They're included in the plans about their lives, and we offer stable and safe homes throughout their childhood and beyond. Let's not shy away from the issues and challenges that we've faced, and they're outlined in the report as well. But I do feel with the board, we all come together, we challenge, we discuss, we debate, and it has been an absolute honour to improve the outcomes for children through the work of the board. I also want to praise the local members and fellow councillors on the board, cross-party politics to one side. We all come together and we absolutely have, I think, really come to value these sessions and work through quite difficult topics for the outcome of children. So therefore, I'm happy to put forward the recommendation to Cabinet as outlined in 3.1, ask Cabinet to approve the annual corporate parenting report, and thank the board for all that they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Do I have a second of that report?
Yeah, I'm pleased as a corporate parent and on behalf of all the corporate parents of the council to actually second this report.
Thank you very much, Simon. Councillor Roger Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. Two questions I'm going to. On page 50 in the report, under 2.4, it says slower rate and includes an increased number of unaccompanied asylum-seeking young people. And then if we go down to page 62 in the report, and I can get to it. It says there, the introduction of the Government National Transfer Scheme to enable all unaccompanied asylum-seeking children to be looked after arriving at port by boat has had an ongoing impact on our numbers. Has that affected Shropshire much? And I do note the reports in the media yesterday about a hotel in Shrewsbury taking immigration into it in the near future. Is that likely to affect us? And I do congratulate the authority and everybody involved in getting the good with the inspection report. It is good that we do when there's so many other local authorities who do not reach that level. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Evans. I'm going to just make a comment about the latter part of your question. Is that at the moment, Councillor Evans, we don't know who is coming into to us in terms of the asylum seeking programme, but I'll let Councillor Kirsty Hurst-Knight answer about our unaccompanied children.
As you know, I brought the National Transfer Rota to Council, I think it was last year, and obviously that controls the number of children that are unaccompanied asylum seeking children that come into the county. We're on a rota basis and we accept the children and with the placement, so that's been done for some time. Obviously the date of this report is worth noting as well, it's sort of 20 to 21, so we will have further updates on the figures, but yeah, absolutely, we're part of the national transfer rota.
Thank you, Kirsty. I have a proposer, I have a seconder. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much indeed. And last but not least, Councillor Hurst-Knight. Moving on to item number 11, the annual report of the local authority designated officer, or LADO, as we like to call it. Kirsty.
Thank you, Leader. Again, it's a pleasing report, bring this to show and highlight the work of the local authority designated officer, as the LADO, as you've just explained. It's a statutory role and it oversees complaints and inquiries as to concerns raised about individuals who pose a risk to children in roles of position of trust. The total number of contacts and referrals for the reporting period of 407 compared to 342 the previous year. Again, we need to be mindful that that was a COVID period and we have seen an increase of 62. But we do know that school clubs, sports facilities, other clubs have reopened. Although schools were open, they were only open for key workers, children, as we know. The outcomes show 178 allegations resulted in no further action, 58 were found to be substantiated and 78 unsubstantiated, 12 false accusations and 80 contacts remain open to the LADO. Good communications remained with partnership agencies, monthly meetings with care home providers and training for the new Shropshire Children's Service Council staff on a monthly basis. We also listened to feedback from partner agencies and reviewing the LADO referral pathway to ensure that it is clear. Assurance about the impact and the effectiveness of the LADO role in Shropshire was gained during the Ofsted inspection. It was looked at in depth and found to be robust and effective, and for that I'm really happy to put forward the recommendation as outlined in the report and recommend that Cabinet note this report and the content of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Do I have a seconder for this report?
Councillor Ian Nellens, I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Nellens. I think it's worth, I remember when this report came to Cabinet last year that there was some misunderstanding about what the LADO's role is. And what I should point out is that the LADO's role is not just about our own care facilities. This is about all the other care facilities. As you know, there are a significant number of care facilities within Shropshire that are not managed by Shropshire Council. But I think it's really important that actually decisions that are taken around this are actually made in conjunction with the local authority rather than the individual care homes making those decisions. So just to reiterate that this is the report that covers all those care facilities within the county, not just the ones that are managed by ourselves. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. Only briefly, but I do note on page 101 where it shows a graph of the children's social care performance and looked after children, and it shows there rising to 609. I presume that's March 22.
Yeah.
I assume it's still going up, and I know stepping stones are in place to put early action in place, but are we still experiencing the gradient that is shown in that graph?
Councillor Hurst-Knight.
Green shoots, I think, is the term that we're using, and those positive steps. And yes, stepping stones. I opened 3 therapeutic hubs a couple of weeks ago. You know, it's absolutely delivering on what we need for children. So yeah, watch this space. We're getting there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Hurst-Knight. I have a proposer. I have a seconder. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 12, which Kirsty is saying is not hers. Electric vehicle chargers for residents without off-street parking. Councillor Ian Nellens.
Thank you. If Councillor Hurst-Knight doesn't mind, I'll take this one. Councillor Ian Nellens, a portfolio holder for climate change, environment and transport. This is the electric vehicle charges for residents without off-street parking report. Shropshire Council has received one of the largest grant awards from the government's on-street residential charge point scheme. An authority from Cabinet has now sought to enter into a contract for the installation. The council made a full application to the scheme in June 2022, following the acceptance of an earlier expression of interest. The bid was drafted with our existing technology partner, Connected Curb, with whom we have already been working to install 50 EV charge points in various locations over the last 18 months. The grant offer letter has now been received for 60%. That's 0.903 million of the gross project of 1.505 million. The remaining match funding, that's 0.602 million, has been secured from a combination of the SIL, Strategic Fund and Highways budget. This is one of the largest grant awards from the programme to any UK local authority and will allow us to install 270 EV chargers in 40 locations across the county, including our market towns and some smaller settlements, bringing the total to 320 EV chargers across the county. Most of the installations will be in our car parks, although some will be on street curbsides. The project is designed to provide infrastructure and is specifically intended to make provision for households who might otherwise be discouraged from making the transition to an electric vehicle because they are unable to fit their own charge point at home, should it be a flat, terrace, street, town property, etc. I'd like to thank and congratulate Jason Hughes and Adrian Cooper and their team for the support for their work to secure this grant. And Cabinet is recommended to agree the use of 0.6 million to match fund the council's budget for a contract to install the additional 270 electric vehicle charge points in 40 locations across Shropshire. Note that 0.903 million in grant from the government on-street residential charge point scheme, and authorise entering into installation contract between the council and Connected Curb. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And do I have a seconder for this report?
Councillor Richard Marshall. And as portfolio holder for Highways, I very much look forward to working with their council and their links to move this forward. One of the things I would comment as well is looking at the placement of the new EV chargers to see how fairly and evenly they've been spread across all parts of the county, north, central and south. And that's very encouraging, so I'm more than happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. I've got Councillor Warren Butler.
Thank you, Leader. Reiterating on Richard's point, if we look at all our market towns are in conservation areas, and in those conservation areas it is very difficult to place electric chargings close to the properties where people live, lots of which are listed. I certainly welcome this move. It is a really good news story for the investment into Shropshire, and I know the residents of Tidbury Mortimer will be exceedingly pleased with their 6 chargers. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. I think you shouldn't underestimate the work that went into getting this bid as well. And I'm along with you, and I thank the officers for putting this in. I think also because I know that there has been some comment about why are they going in one place and why are they not going in another. This, I'm sure Ian will clarify this, but it's very much data driven, isn't it?
Yeah, just to confirm, it has been data driven. I have seen, we have had a number of local councillors complaining that they haven't got enough, and I've seen something in the Shropshire Star today where some residents are complaining that they didn't want them outside their house, and these are probably the residents who will eventually want them. So there is a bit of change in process here. Nothing's completely in stone yet. It has been organised through the data. I'm sure there can be some flexibility, but realistically this is where they have the data says they should be going. Thank you.
And that's all based on the data of who owns electric vehicles. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Chairman. Again, I join everybody else. Congratulations to the staff. It is a good thing for Shropshire. The one thing I do pick up though is that I wouldn't want to take anything away from where it is being proposed, and I've asked a question before about charges going on the park and ride sites. At one time we were looking at some leisure coffee facilities putting at those, but if they are adjacent to the A5 or highways, let's get people in there to spend time. We can earn some money from they're using the park, the charging points there before they go into Wales. Let them come into Shrewsbury, spend their money there. So are we looking at putting something like EV chargers of some description in some of our park and ride sites?
Thank you. I have to point out that this scheme, as it says in the title, is aimed at residents who haven't got off-street parking, so that's the primary use for it. But you know, I do take your point. It will be good for the environment, but at this point, it was for residents without off-street parking.
if I can just come in there, Councillor Evans, it is still in the plans to put obviously charges in all of our car parks, including the park and ride at some point. But I'm very grateful to get this one over the line because the sooner we get these installed, the better. So I have a proposer, I have a seconder. All those in favour? Thank you very much indeed. And that brings us to the end of the Cabinet meeting for the 8th of November. Thank you all for your attendance.
Election charge includes contract.
For those of you who didn't hear that, Tim is just about to hit click to sign.
Done it now.
He's done it. So we've signed the contract. Brilliant.
Well done, Tim.
Well done, Tim.
Your input to this was great.
Yeah.
Leave that.